I'm going to be talking about guilt, and later on in this video, I'm going to be reading from Ina Segal, The Secret Language of the Body, talking about what the emotion of guilt can do if you try to suppress it or ignore it. But first and foremost, I wanted to first tell you guys a little bit about my guilt story, and it's not done. I'm still working on it, but I think I can still share because I know it will be inspirational and it will help you. And this is something that I felt was a download to approach my video in this way. I did one the other day talking about my voice and talking and kind of getting down to that story of why I communicate the way that I did. And that's really been eye opening. So as I started to think about guilt, I really had a lot of guilt about how I conducted my business and how I present information and even the way that I maybe even come across. And so I read something in my birth chart that really got me thinking, and it was like, you're going to gain a lot of your success in being transparent and being upfront and honest. And I read something the other day that just kind of like put the icing on the cake, which was saying that, lying is the lowest form of communication. And, it's great to have integrity. So as I began to think about the work that I do, for some reason along the line, I felt really guilty and bad and even shameful when I did not memorize all my work, if I had to use notes and things of that nature. I felt really guilty about that. And I started thinking back in school, and I started thinking about my style of learning, which it took me to my 30s to even understand the kind of learner that I am. I had looked at something in my human design that stated that I'm not one of those learners who does well in institutional learning because, you want to know all the facts and remember these specific dates. And that's just not how I retain information. And I think I started feeling bad and really embarrassed because it was like, I know that I'm smart, but I'm not able to remember the facts. And instead of kind of looking into that when I was younger, I just really felt stupid. So I felt really bad and embarrassed when I had to look at notes so then I wouldn't. And then I wouldn't post the content and I wouldn't share because I felt like people would think I'm dumb or not know what I'm talking about if I had to reference notes or if I misspoke or something like that. So I really started working on that. And I was like, you know what? That isn't serving me to think that way, and it's not true. So I gave myself a lot of space and grace to do what I need to be able to provide the information and not put that pressure on myself that, you have to be perfect, that you have to memorize everything because I do a lot. The nature of my work, I cover a lot of different topics. I hold a lot of different hats from the therapy to the coaching to the counseling in so many different topics from, mental health, family psychology, spiritual psychology, what is it? I have trauma, mental health. I have a lot of knowledge that I take in and present. And I'm like, why would I even try to burden myself with the responsibility to try to force myself to do something that's not, natural to me? Now, I'm not saying that it's not a skill that I can't develop, but I feel like, do I have to do that? Am I developing that skill because that's what society says I have to do? How does it feel good? How does it feel in my body? And honestly, it feels better for me to present and come forth with the information the way that I do. And I want to make sure, I'm reading it in the right way. And I just feel better. And I don't want to try to add any more pressure on me than I have to. So it took me a lot of confidence and, boldness to really look at that storyline. There were some emotions that came up with that because for so long I struggled in life thinking that I wasn't good. So, of course, my default thinking was super negative, and, I held myself back because I felt really guilty about how I, you know, retained information and that I just wasn't able to learn that way. And I think society is like right or wrong. So if I don't retain information, then I'm not right and I'm not smart. And so this is the beautiful part about being able to write your own storyline, to choose what works for you and not feel that you're trapped in this box of right or wrong. There's duality. There's a right way to do stuff and there's people are going to think there's a wrong way to do stuff, but It's you. What do you feel is right? So I've really been able to push past that, and I feel so much more expansive when it comes to that. And I think that there will be more layers to that. There could be other circumstances that I couldn't think of right away that add to the guilt story. I know, of course, there's some religion guilt I have with that as well. So I know that's things that I unpack on a day-to-day basis. Part about doing the work is choosing every single day to be intentional and to be mindful about your thoughts and just not defaulting. So every day I'm just thinking about how my emotions are, manifesting my reality. And so I just wanted to share that part with you. And I'm going to get ready to get into The Guilt by Ina Segal. And I will tell you at the end, what emotion you need to begin to focus on, because if you don't replace that negative emotion or find something to balance or overcome it so that you can find a way to get yourself out of that negative emotion or to feel it, process it, and then transmute it, you need something positive. And if you don't find something positive to replace it with, then you're going to automatically default to that negative thinking. So when it comes to guilt, I'll just tell you now, you need to focus on innocence. So I'm going to read this and, take some notes, because this could be something you go back to, or you can save this video and follow me for more, because I will be doing a lot of emotions so you can understand how they really affect your body. It's not just about, I don't want to deal with them. You're going to have to deal with them regardless, on an emotional level before they manifest into something physical, or you'll have to address it when it becomes physical. And if you decide to ignore it and just continue the physical, manifestation of what that is only going to make you feel even worse. Then your story is going to get even worse. Oh, I really can't do nothing now because I have leg problems, or I can't really do anything because I can't see and I have back pain. So this is going to be a cycle that will go downwards if you choose not to face your emotions. And the hardest part, or scariest part, I would say, is just embracing them and just acknowledging them. And then once you acknowledge them, then you know what to do with them and you can transmute them. You don't have to face them and think that this is your end all be all. You have to first know what you're facing so you have an area of opportunity for growth. So since this video was so long, I'll call this part 1, and in part 2, I'm going to get into the book.